If you identify as a multi-passionate creative, I want to have a very real and potentially a slightly uncomfortable conversation with you today. We live in a culture that celebrates the multi-hyphenate. We're told we can be a musician, an author, an artist, a content creator, and a podcaster all at the same time. And on paper, that sounds incredibly liberating and exciting. But if you look at your hard drive right now, or your notebook, or your sticky notes, what's your actual reality? The reality for most independent creatives is that not only are they not successfully running multiple creative businesses, but they also have a graveyard of half-finished projects and unrealized creative dreams. You know, a book that only has 6 chapters written, a half-finished painting, a partially written album, a podcast with a couple of uploaded episodes, but those were uploaded last year, and a course that's fully outlined, but it's never been filmed. And this results in many thinking that they just aren't talented enough to succeed in a creative business. But that's absolutely not the case. You don't have a talent problem. Your creative abilities are completely intact. But what you do have is a system crash caused by trying to run too many creative tasks at the same time. Today, we're going to talk about why trying to do everything is the exact reason you aren't making a sustainable living from your creative art, and how to fix it. Welcome to Focus, Finish, Grow with Bill Walker, a podcast for independent creatives who want to turn scattered ideas into focused action, consistent visibility, and real creative momentum. And today we're tackling one of the most insidious traps in the entire creative industry. And it's the lie we tell ourselves. If I just work harder or sleep less, I can move all of these projects forward simultaneously. Does your week look something like this? Monday morning, you sit down to work on your book. By Monday afternoon, you realize you need a website to market your book, so you switch to web design. And on Tuesday, you get hit with inspiration for a new piece of music, so you abandon the website to compose the new music. And on Wednesday, you realize you haven't posted on social media for a week, so you spend the next 4 hours trying to design an infographic. And then by Thursday, you look back at the progress you've made this week, and you realize you've taken 1 step forward and 3 steps back. Have any of you felt that way? I know I have. And you've expended an immense amount of energy. You're completely exhausted, and you're effectively standing in the same place you were at the beginning of the week, or maybe even a little bit behind. Creativity and business execution don't work on raw effort alone. They work on focused execution. Think of your energy like a spotlight. If you focus that light into a single laser beam, it can cut through steel. However, if you diffuse that same light across an entire auditorium, it doesn't even warm the room. When you spread yourself across 3 or 4 different creative avenues at once, you hit what I call the friction of fragmentation. Every time you switch from marketing to writing a piece of music to building a website, your brain requires a massive amount of energy just to boot up that new task. You lose an hour or more just trying to remember where you left off. And by the time you get into a stable workflow, your creative battery is drained, and you stall, and you may stay stuck. And worst of all, because you never actually finish and amplify any one single thing, the market never gets to see who you are and what you're truly capable of. You remain invisible to your audience because your work is incomplete. Let's look at why this happens. Because really, most creatives I know don't actually struggle with finishing the art itself. They know how to write a song, they know how to write a book, they know how to paint, and they know how to design a product. But where the multi-passionate trap really tears us apart is when we try to build the business around our art. Because suddenly, it's not just about creating. It's about executing, amplifying, tracking, and evolving. When you're working on 4 different creative projects simultaneously, you're not just working on 4 creative ideas. You have 4 different marketing strategies to build. You have 4 different target audiences to research. You have 4 different email lists to grow. You have 4 different accounting spreadsheets to track. No wonder you feel overwhelmed. You're trying to act as the CEO of 4 different companies simultaneously, while being the sole employee producing all the goods. And this is where a system upgrade has to happen. We have to stop looking at our creative lives as a chaotic stream of consciousness and start treating our creative work like a structured system. If you want to build a profitable, sustainable, creative business over the next 6 months to a year, or at least the foundations of one, you have to realize that your talent is just stage 1 of your creative business. And that without an operating system to direct that talent, your business is going to struggle every single time. Now, if you're listening to this and realizing that your current workflow is prone to these kinds of struggles and crashes, I want to help you install a permanent fix. Every single week, we host a live, completely free webinar called Create, Focus, Finish, Grow. Inside this training, we introduce and explain the entire Create operating system and show you step by step how to structure your time, reverse engineer your project, track your progress, and actually get your work out into the world so it can generate real revenue. And don't worry, there's no massive inflated value stack there, no manufactured pressure. It's just a highly practical and strategic framework for independent creatives who are ready to stop guessing and treat their creative work as a profession. And if you want to join us for the next live session, the registration link is in the description below. Grab a spot, come hang out, and let's get your workflow upgraded. Now, let's look at the exact steps you need to take today to break out of this multi-passionate trap. The fix for the multi-passionate trap isn't to abandon your other passions and ideas forever. And I know what it's like to have multiple passions and multiple ideas. I'm a pianist, a composer, an instructor, a writer, and an entrepreneur. So I would never tell you to stop creating. The secret is learning to organize all your passions chronologically rather than trying to execute them simultaneously. And in the Create framework, the very first step stands for choose. Specifically, it means committing to what I call the primary quest. A primary quest is the one main project that you focus all of your creative and business resources on for a strict 6-month time frame. Now notice, I didn't say a 5-year time frame or a 3-year time frame. 6 months, 180 days. That's it. That's the sweet spot. It's long enough to build something real, to amplify your efforts, and to track meaningful results. It's also short enough to keep you focused, so you don't wander off into shiny object interference. Within that 6-month time frame, your project runs on a specific cycle. If your primary quest is to launch your signature online course, that is your entire focus for that cycle. Here's how you execute this strategy starting today. So the first thing you need to do is to define the completion date. You must define the exact date your primary quest will be completed, shipped, or live. And we call this the focus anchor date. And this is the hard deadline for your primary quest to be completed. If your primary quest is to make your book available for purchase, what is the exact date it goes live on Amazon? And if it's to create a community, what's the exact date that the doors open? Because if it isn't on the calendar, it doesn't exist. All right, the second thing you need to do is you need to build a distraction firewall. So as you work on your primary quest, your brain is going to get a brilliant idea for a new podcast, a new book, a new album, a new business, and it's all going to happen during week 3, and then again during week 8. Now, this isn't a sign that you should change projects. It's just your brain being creative. You're always going to get more ideas, and these ideas are always going to compete for your attention, potentially distracting you from the hard work of finishing your current primary quest. But when that happens, don't panic. And don't throw the idea away. What you need to do is you need to write it down and transfer it to what I call the future list. The future list is where you write down all ideas that aren't your primary quest. And then you get back to work on your primary quest. And it's okay to acknowledge that you just had a brilliant idea. It's also okay to acknowledge that that idea doesn't serve your current primary quest. And so then the third thing you need to do is accept the power of not right now. As you just learned, saying not right now to a new idea isn't a death sentence for that idea. It's actually the highest form of respect you can give your art. You're giving your current project permission to have your full, undivided attention. And all your other ideas, and all the additional ideas you're going to get, are safely protected on your future list. And when it's time to choose a new primary quest, you'll revisit that future list and you'll choose a new primary quest. And then you'll be in a position to give that new project 100% of your time, energy, and focus. When you permit yourself to focus on just one primary quest, something incredible happens. Creative anxiety begins to disappear. You no longer wake up in the morning feeling guilty about what you're not working on, because you've already decided exactly what matters most right now. And if you're trying to reach that milestone where your creative work supports your life, you have to transition from being a hobbyist who works when inspiration strikes to being a creative professional who relies on a reliable system. You can accomplish your creative goals and build the creative business of your dreams. You just can't do it all by this Tuesday. Choose what matters. Do the work. Build momentum. If this episode has resonated with you, can you do me a quick favor? If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below with your one primary quest for the next 6 months. And if you're listening on the audio feed via Apple, Spotify, or Audible, leave a quick review. All of this helps me get this message out to more independent creatives just like you. And remember, if you want to see how the rest of this operating system connects together, click on the link in the description and register for our free weekly webinar. I'm Bill Walker. This is Focus, Finish, Grow. Let's get to work, and I'll see you in the next episode.